Hello everyone, I'm Fozzie or Cam, and I'm here as always with my co-host Will. How you doing today, Will?
Doing great, Cam. How about you?
I'm doing fantastic. Today we actually have a lot to talk about. We have to talk about John Morant and the crazy situation going on there. We're talking about Aaron Rodgers wanting to go to the Jets. We're talking about our Oscars, which were a lot better than last year. We'll start with that. Yeah, we didn't get a slap heard around the world this year, which I am perfectly fine by. The Oscars are meant to be a professional event, not some MTV fan favorite award or whatever, not a Nickelodeon Kids Choice Award. It's supposed to be professional. And I'm glad they kind of brought that back while still keeping some of the humor I really liked. And Jimmy Kimmel, great host. But I'm getting ahead of myself. We're talking about Mando season 3 today. First two episodes are out, and the third one's out today, but I haven't watched it yet. Will, you saw Springsteen live in concert, so yeah, we gotta talk about that. But first, before all that, I just want to talk about Ted Lasso season 3, episode 1. I haven't watched it yet, but I'm excited to start Ted Lasso season 3. I mean, you and I are both huge Ted Lasso fans, and I just can't wait to see where the story goes.
Yeah, it'll be very interesting for sure. And do you have any theories for this season, Cam, that have come to mind for you?
I honestly, the trailers haven't given us much at all. Um, could be the last season potentially. From the way they're setting it up, apparently the episodes are like 50 minutes each, so it's a little longer than what we
Yeah,
usually get.
I think it's gonna be the final season from like what I've heard and stuff. Yeah, I think
Okay,
that's what they intend for it to be. Yeah.
that's sad, but I'm fine with it because I think
Yeah.
it'll be a very good ending, and the first episode has great reviews so far, and they set up Nate as a really good villain. So yeah, I'm really excited to see how the show goes, how the season
I mean,
goes.
the Nate storyline is gonna be fascinating. I mean,
For
like,
sure.
will he be a villain the whole season? Will he turn back to the good side
I
at the
I
end
think
of
he
the
will.
season? I think so too. I mean, that would make the most sense within the storyline. But he's gonna be fascinating, and I never thought that I would hate him, but here we are.
Yeah, I know. And his hair got a lot grayer. Did you notice that?
Oh yeah, yeah, I did. Yep.
Random, weird thing for them to do, but cool. Maybe they'll explain it. Who knows? Um, but first, today, let's talk about Ja Morant.
Ooh.
Tough situation he's in right now, and it's all his fault, actually. Um, you shouldn't do that if you're in the NBA. Kids look up to you. You shouldn't be posting pictures of guns on social media. That's ridiculous. You should set a higher standard for yourself. You should be a role model for the people who look up to you and who people who you were your favorite. Some people's favorite player was John Morant, and there he is taking a gun out, and it's just it's sad to see. As I mean, he's super talented, and I just hope he doesn't go down a very dark road. I hope he gets back on track. And he
Yeah.
did say he took some time off, but will he really use that time to work on himself, or will he just continue to party and use weapons, use firearms? I hope not. I mean, like I said, I think he's very talented, so I hope he helps on the back on the right track. How do you feel about this, Will?
Yeah, I mean, I think he's checking into some place in Florida right now to like
Oh, that's
try and
awesome. I
get
didn't know that.
get get help or something along those uh lines. But look, I mean, if he's going to go and get help now, that's great. But I think
Of
this
course.
situation is just nothing short of sad. And sometimes I think just people who are famous, just sadly, they just sometimes can't contain themselves. And I think this is a example of that. I think this situation is just nothing but sad. And look, I really hope he can get himself together because he obviously is a incredibly talented player. But boy, just what a disappointing thing to have happen.
I know. And if you're a Memphis fan, that must really be unfortunate for you. Uh, but now, we have to talk about Aaron Rodgers requesting to be traded to the Jets. Will, thoughts?
Yeah. Well, I'm personally so done with Aaron Rodgers. I think he's turned into such a selfish person, and it's too bad because
Agreed.
I really was at first when there was all the stuff going on with him and the Packers. I was on his side. I was like, oh, the Packers drafting Jordan Love, they're not valuing him enough. But once we had the whole COVID thing happen and him saying he had gotten vaccinated when he didn't, I was just so out of him. And I feel like this is just kind of I just can't support him doing this. I just think he's turned into a selfish person, and him coming out and saying this doesn't necessarily change my opinion. So, I mean, it could be a really good pickup for the Jets, but you certainly won't see me cheering for Aaron Rodgers because I am totally
No
out on
way.
him.
Yeah, and I'm excited to see how the story progresses. I'm excited to hear how this goes because I wanna. Will they actually trade him? I mean,
Well, we'll have to see. I mean, if he doesn't want to play for the
that's true.
Packers anymore, I mean, wouldn't necessarily be the smartest choice to keep him in that case.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's too bad for the Packers, but I mean, he's obviously a really good quarterback. But finally, the Jets are gonna start to get some talent. Hopefully, he doesn't act like a baby on the Jets. Um,
Yep.
but yeah, at least they'll finally get some actual talent.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, and on Sunday, right, the Oscars were on, and not really any complaints from me. Last year there were
Yeah.
a lot of complaints. I wasn't huge on it. I don't think Amy Schumer is funny at all. I don't think she's a good host. I don't think she was a good host. Um, and obviously that ridiculous slap heard around the world should never have happened. That there should have been security measures there to prevent it in the first place. It's ridiculous. It's childish. Chris Rock probably shouldn't have made that joke. It was unscripted. He
And Chris
shouldn't have
Rock
done that
just
in the
did
first
his
place.
Netflix special that just came out
Yeah,
as
well,
well,
what
which
was it
he
called again?
I don't know what it was called, but he addressed
Yeah.
Will Smith in the final 8 minutes, and he was not happy. And at the end, he said that like the reason he didn't wanna, or the reason he didn't fight back against Will Smith is because people of color are not supposed to fight in front of white people. So he said that and then dropped his mic, and that was the end of his special. But simply put, Chris Rock was very angry about the whole thing, and he addressed it in the final 8 minutes
Right,
of his
rightfully
Netflix
so.
special.
Like I said, he obviously should have made that joke. It was unscripted, not an joke to make about your co-worker, if you what would you call him? Your fellow Hollywood actors.
Exactly. Yeah, that's yeah.
Not a great joke to make. Will Smith laughed at the joke and then proceeded to slap him in the face.
I mean, I think I read that like he might have like laughed at it, but then turned and saw how much his wife was affected by what Chris Rock had said, and then went up and did what he did. But still, just the act, like the way that he went
Handle it
about
like an adult. Don't
exactly.
run on the stage like a baby and slap him in the face. That's
Handle it
insane.
backstage.
And security didn't do a thing. That's a crime. That he committed a crime, and they just let it happen because it's good for viewers. No, that's not okay. Oscars should have handled it. The Academy should have handled it better. They
There
didn't.
are way worse things that Chris Rock could have done to prompt that reaction. Now, did I think that Chris Rock made the smartest joke about Will Smith's wife? No, I do not. But do I think it's okay what Will Smith did? Absolutely not.
No, and then sitting back down and swearing at Chris, it's ridiculous. Don't be a baby. Don't be like Aaron Rodgers. Be an adult and just talk after the show like, hey man, I think you should apologize for that joke. My wife really didn't like it, and I just think you should apologize. Like a normal person. Don't have to
Yeah.
slap him in the face. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, and I think it's again just like so sad when there are these celebrities who are super talented and yet they just do things that kind of hover over them for the rest of their career. And whenever
Banned
you
from the
like
Oscars for 10 years.
exactly like with Jaw Morant, like from now on, I will never be able to watch him play basketball without thinking about what just happened. And Will Smith, whenever if I ever watch another movie with him in it, I will never not be able to think about the slap. So when you're a celebrity and you do things like this, it's gonna hover over you for the rest of your career. And in Will Smith's case, from now on, I'm only going to be thinking about the slap when it comes to him, and not what a great actor he is. And that's what's so bad about it.
I mean, we say he's a good actor now, but Will, did you see his apology video he put on YouTube?
I didn't.
That was some bad
that.
acting right there. Ugh, it was
Right.
ridiculous.
Well,
ridiculous.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Listen, Will Smith is obviously indefensible here. Like, I don't care. Again, did I think Chris Rock made the smartest joke? No. Are
No
Will
way.
Smith's actions defensible in any way, shape, or form? Hell no.
Yeah. It's ridiculous, but I'm glad they put in safety measures this year, which should have been there in the first place. But I'm glad it's there this year. I'm glad we got to protect Mr. Jimmy Kimmel. I think he's very funny. I just love his style of humor.
I read about some joke he made about Matt Damon during the Oscars.
Oh, did he? I didn't pick up on that. I didn't see it.
Great. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, the feud is legendary.
Yeah, I mean, they did a bit on Jimmy Kimmel's 20th anniversary show recently where he kicked Matt Damon off of that.
I saw that. Yes,
brilliant. You know,
with the cake.
Yes. Oh, Matt Damon punching the cake. Are you kidding me? Matt Damon's acting in that. It was so fantastic. You know, we haven't really touched on the Jimmy Kimmel Matt Damon feud on this podcast.
No, we don't really talk about Kimmel on the podcast, actually.
I would just like to say, Jimmy Kimmel and Matt Damon are brilliant. This feud is one of the feud, quote unquote, is one of the most brilliant things I have ever seen. The concept behind it is so absurd, and yet they play it so well. If you have not checked them out, please do, and please check out them going to couples therapy in 2015 and 2016. It is some of the greatest comedy I have ever seen in my entire life. Those two are absolutely brilliant, and I absolutely revere them for what they have done with this feud. It's one of the most genius things I've ever seen on TV. I think they're brilliant.
Yeah, I think it's just hilarious how they you're right. Matt Damon acts. He should have been at the Oscars for that. Will.
Yeah. If Matt, they should have done a bit at the Oscars this year. I know they did some stuff when Jimmy Kimmel hosted it back in 2017, but they totally should have done something together at the Oscars this year. I would have been all for it.
Oh yeah, and now we're getting sidetracked again. But with talk show hosts, I have a few different ways I like to rank them. Jimmy Fallon has the most fun interviews. Has a lot of my favorite guests on it, and he's a great guy. He's very fun to have him interview. Conan O'Brien, I guess the show's not running anymore, but would probably be the funniest talk show or late night host. And that second would be Kimmel. Kimmel has just a style of humor that just never fails to make me laugh. I also like the appearance from Cocaine Bear at the Oscars. I saw that movie. It was a movie about a bear who did cocaine, and it made me laugh. That's about it.
That's good. That's good.
Yeah, but I thought all those sketches were funny. I really thought Elvis was gonna win something. I don't know how Elvis did not win one award. Not even for costume design, nothing. It's ridiculous. Avatar: Way of Water winning VFX over there. I'm happy about that. It makes
Yeah,
total sense. Wakanda
totally.
Forever ended up winning Best Costume Design.
Yeah, which I think is totally deserving, and I think that Ruth Carter overall does an incredible job with the Black Panther
For
costumes.
sure.
I think she's a brilliant costume designer. She's fantastic.
Yeah, and Best Picture, I thought Everything Everywhere All at Once was a great movie. I thought it was a better. It's like taking a format from a Marvel movie, the multiverse concept, kinda, and then doubling it by 1,000 and making it better, making it more mature, making it more powerful, making it have way cooler fight scenes. That's for sure. On a budget of like $20 million, which Age of Ultron had a budget of $300 million. 300, not 20 million. And then we have it's produced by one of everyone's favorite movie studios of all time, A24. Just makes it even better. And I really loved Everything Everywhere All at Once. Yeah, I really like most of the nominees for Best Picture. Did I really think Top Gun Maverick was gonna win? No. Did I like that it was in there? Yes.
It did win something for like sound
Yes.
effects or yeah,
Random award, but whatever.
random award. But I am glad to see it
Yeah,
I am
totally.
glad
It's
to
an
see it
Oscar-winning
get
film.
yeah, like I don't care what they get recognized for that movie's name to show up in any Oscars category. I'm totally happy with because I thought that was an all-time great sequel.
Yeah. One thing I thought the Oscars were missing, like all the awesome horror movies that came out this year, the Oscars just has something against horror, Will. It's it's ridiculous. It's annoying.
Would
So
you
many
say
good
that
horror movies
the
come out.
Oscars has the same thing against horror that it has against superhero movies?
Yes, totally. And but at least one superhero movie got nominated this year, Black Panther. Um,
And we finally got a actor nomination this
yeah,
year in a
Angela Bassett, happy
superhero
for her. Didn't
movie.
end up winning. That
Totally.
went to Jamie Lee Curtis, who deserved it. She had a great role in Everything Ever All at Once. I would have liked to see her win as well, but you know, I'm glad she was nominated. I'm glad Angela was nominated.
Totally. Totally deserving.
Yeah, but I agree with you. They definitely have the similar thing going on there. Like, Nope, possibly my favorite movie of 2022. Not mentioned once.
Nothing.
It was brilliant. Jordan Peele is brilliant. Nothing. Snubbed. Barbarian, a brilliant horror movie, a classic horror movie. Did so many unique things. Fascinating, scary, it was perfect. Not mentioned once. The Menu, possibly my second favorite movie of 2022. That's hardly same with Nope. Nope isn't really a horror movie. I mean, yeah, The Menu's kind of a horror movie, but it's lighter on the horror than Barbarian. Not mentioned once, and it just upsets me because it's such. When people think of horror, I feel like they just think of these crappy, cheaply made horror movies. And yes, there are some like that, like 2022's Texas Chainsaw Massacre remake slash sequel. I believe it's called a requel. Like that. Not a not 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 a good movie at all. But there are other good horror movies, and people just don't get it. It's annoying to me. Um, but actually, there's a YouTube channel called Dead Meat who is completely dedicated to horror, and they do their own horror movie awards, which I'm so happy that they do because the horror deserves recognition. Heck, Scream 6, it was great. The Scream movies have been constantly consistent. So, Smile, even. It was a creative movie. Not mentioned once. It was a huge movie. It made a lot of money. Halloween Ends made a lot of money, but it was garbage. Should want something for stunts, maybe. For something. VFX. Anything. Horror. Completely snubbed by the Oscars. It upsets me. But overall, I was happy with this year's Oscars. It was treated professionally. I really liked Rihanna's performance of Lift Me Up. solid Oscars.
Yeah,
Respectful.
what grade would you give Jimmy Kimmel as a host?
Oh, he was great. I think he gets a B plus. I thought they had to play it a little safer this year because they didn't want anything big to happen again, so they just played everything a little safer, and I was fine with that. And yeah, I was happy with this year's Oscars. And there was no talk about animation only being a genre for kids, um, so I'm happy about that too. But unfortunately, Puss in Boots: The Last Wish. No win for Puss in Boots, unfortunately. Glad it was nominated. I thought it was fantastic. But yeah, pretty good Oscars this year. Now I'd like to talk about the first 2 episodes of Mandalorian. It's back. It's back. It feels like no time has passed. It feels like nothing has changed, and it hasn't really. It's still the same. It's been consistent all the way through. I thought there's a little drop in season 2, but then it picked itself back up by the finale, and it was fine. And even when he was in Boba Fett, perfectly consistent. And I'm happy that we have a consistent Disney Plus show. I am thrilled about that. So yeah, Will, what are your thoughts on Mando season episode 1 and 2 so far?
I've loved Mando season 3 so far. I think it just continues to prove why it's the crowning jewel of Star Wars live action shows. I'm loving the Mando Bo-Katan dynamic so far this season. You would think that they might save the, you know, living waters beneath the minds of Mandalore stuff for maybe the end of the season, but they've already done it in episode 2, so I'll
Yeah.
be curious to see where they take it from here, but I just have such faith in the team behind that show that I know they'll do everything brilliantly. So, loving Mando season 3 so far. I see absolutely zero drop off. I guess if there's one nitpick I could make, I would love to see Mando maybe asking some more questions about why like Grogu decided to come back to him and leave Luke. You haven't really heard him ask about that. He just kind of
I'm sure. I'm sure
accepting
we
of it.
will. I'm
So
sure we'll hear about it.
I would love to like hear him ask about that at some time. I'll be curious to see what they do with Grogu this season because so far this has not been a season about him. This has been a season about Mando. So I'll be curious to see what they do with Grogu's character as the season goes on. But those are just little things, and I've loved season 3 so far, and I've seen absolutely zero drop off as of yet.
Yeah, and guess who is directing an episode of Mando this season?
Carl Weathers, right?
Carl Weathers. Wow, exciting.
Really, yeah, and awesome to see him back in episode 1. That was a fun Grief Karga appearance.
Yeah, I was happy about that, and I think he'll appear more on the show. So I'm happy about that too. And yeah, I am really enjoying the Mandalorian season 3 so far. And now we can talk about your Springsteen concert. Well, how was that? Let's hear the full story.
Yeah, so me and my dad took the trip up to Portland, Oregon, a road trip to see Bruce Springsteen. It was quite the trip. We had to end up staying 2 nights in this town called Weed, California, because there was a snowstorm there, and whether we would go to the concert or if the concert would even happen was in jeopardy. So that was a stressful situation, but we made it there and back. Totally good in the end, and the concert was fantastic. If you're sensitive to noise, I would definitely advise you to bring ear plugs to a show like a Bruce Springsteen concert, just because of how rocking it is. It is not even close to being the loudest concert that I've ever attended, but Bruce and the street band were in peak form. Bruce's voice was in at believe it or not, at age, I believe, 73, Bruce's voice has not tailed off one bit.
Impressive.
They were in peak form. Bruce had two stunning acoustic performances of Last Man Standing and I'll See You in My Dreams off of Letter to You. He had a few other Letter to You songs that he did as well, and then a bunch of other just classic E Street Band uh, 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 songs from many different eras and many different albums. So the concert was fantastic. The only complaint that I have is that as someone who's listened to Bruce Springsteen songs so many times,
Of course,
nothing
yeah.
necessarily felt new to me. It
Oh
was
yeah.
all of the songs I felt like I had heard billions of times. So, I mean, as a musician, you are mandated pretty much to play your hits because the fans love
Yeah.
them. But I just feel like I've heard them so many times that it didn't necessarily like nothing felt fresh or new to me. But in terms of the quality of the concert, it was fantastic, and Bruce and the band were as good as they've ever been in peak
That's
form.
that's awesome to hear. Because who knows? This could be their last tour.
Yeah, and I'm certainly keeping that in mind. I mean with how good they were when I saw them, I'm definitely not ruling out the chance for them to go on tour again, but that's also something that I'm totally keeping in mind.
Yeah. And they're coming to TD Garden soon, which I will not be attending, but in August I will be seeing them in Gillette Stadium.
Awesome.
Bruce and the East Street Band, so I'm excited for that. And now hearing what you have to say about it, I am double excited. I cannot wait. I'm fine with them playing their classic hits because not every day you get to see a Springsteen concert. So yeah, I'm thrilled to hear that it's awesome. I'm so happy for you, Will. That sounds awesome.
Thank you.
But yeah, that's pretty much all we have to cover for today's episode. A little shorter one. I don't know how we can ever top last episode of the Everything podcast.
By the way, do you want to? I do have something we could talk about quickly. So
Oh sure.
our last episode. So obviously Mike, who we had on, folks. If you haven't seen it, he left a comment in the comments section of our last episode where we reviewed the movie Creed 3, and he says, Dear the Everything Podcast audience, I was fortunate enough to be asked to make a guest appearance on this episode. As an addendum to the views that I shared, I would like to update my ranking of this film as it has now been over 24 hours since I watched the movie that ghosted the most beloved character in the history of American cinema. With all due respect to Michael B. Jordan, Ryan Coogler, and the creators of this motion picture, on a scale of 0 to 10, I now give Creed 3 a 0. Although there is an abundance of craft, skill, and creativity in this production, it broke my heart by completely abandoning the relationship between Adonis and Rocky without any context, care, or any degree of respect for the audience that had put their trust and faith in the bond that had been created between these two characters. It makes no sense on a narrative level, and on an emotional level, it simply broke my heart. If the Rocky character couldn't be addressed with any manner of warmth and dignity, either on screen or off, then the film shouldn't have been made. It just doesn't add up for Adonis, Bianca, and Marianne Creed to just ghost Rocky from existence. He was family to them and to us as an audience. It was a ruthless and heartbreaking editorial decision.
I agree. It's not a great thing that they did. Does it make me hate the movie? No, I think it's a really good movie, and it just. I disagree. I disagree.
And the other thing that he did, folks, I just want to read my dad's Mike's rankings of the Rocky and Creed films so that you can all just really get a sense as an audience of how lowly he thinks of the movie Creed 3. So I am going to go from, and this includes the Rocky 4 director's cut, everybody. I'm going to go from 1 to 10 this time. My dad's rankings of the Rocky and Creed movies. He is the only person in the world who would ever do this. Here we go. 1, Rocky 1. 2, Rocky Balboa. 3, Creed 1. 4, Rocky 2. 5, Creed 2. 6, Rocky 3. 7, Rocky 4. 8, Rocky 4 director's cut. Get ready for it. Do you even want to hear it?
I don't.
9.
I just wholeheartedly disagree with this list.
9, Rocky 5. 10, Creed 3.
Yeah, not crazy about that list at all. I think it's upsetting. And I disagree with it completely.
As much as I am...
With respect to Mike.
Yeah,
with respect. I hate his review.
As much as I'm laughing, at this at times right now, I would like to say, though, listen, would I give the film a 0 out of 10, and would I rank it lower than Rocky 5? No, I would not. However, I would like to say that I completely understand where Mike is coming from, though, in the sense that it doesn't make sense for them to not mention where Rocky was, not mention if he had passed away, and also, as Mike has noted, Rocky was a father figure to Adonis, so for them to just not even really mention anything about him or say where he is, it just does not make sense. So I do want to clarify for people that Mike is not saying Rocky 5 is worse than Creed 3. He just wishes that Creed 3 was never made because of what they did with Rocky, and that's why he has it last on his list. So do I agree with Mike and his new rating for Creed 3 and his ranking of Creed 3 on his list? I do not. But I would also like to say that I completely understand where he's coming from, and I also don't support what they did with Rocky in this movie.
Not at all. I agree with you there, but I'm just don't feel as strong about it as he does. But yeah, thank you guys so much for tuning in to this episode of the Everything Podcast. Will, thanks for joining me as always, and we'll see you guys next week. Goodbye.